One.
Good evening. This is the meeting of the trustees of Osgood Hill, June 10th, 2020. It is now 5:03. And I just have a statement at this moment to read. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th order, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL 30A 18, and the governor's March 1st order imposing strict limitation on the number to gather in one place. We are conducting our meeting tonight, remote participation, and to the greatest extent possible, we will publicize on our CAM station. That will be channel 8 on Comcast and channel 26 on Verizon. There aren't any in-person attendance members of the public unless invited, and we will be expecting our representative from the Board of Selectmen, Select Board, Rosemary Spadili, as well as the chair of the Long-Term Advisory Committee for some follow-up information for when they perhaps meet by the end of June, if not July. So we will try in every effort. Our minutes will be transcribed and will be a comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Any comments, topic related, can be sent to ellensmosier.stevensestate@gmail.com, and I will read them during the meeting as they appear. So I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is now 5:05. In attendance remotely, Robin
Ellington here.
Jean
Irwin here.
Dave you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry about that. Dave Brown's here.
Dave Brown's here. And Jerry just joined us.
Jerry's here.
And Jerry's here, and
Hi,
Ellen
everyone.
Mosher is here. And Joanna Ouellette is here, our director from the estate.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome. And again, first up is the approval of our May 27th meeting. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Dave Brown moves that we accept the minutes as written.
Robin Ellington, I second.
Any discussion? Jerry?
So there's one clarification that I posted on the minutes related to the, I'll say kind of the forecast of where the revenue and the budget were going to land. And in the notes I had, Joanna was reporting out a loss of 5,000 from what you're forecasting as revenue and what you're forecasting as expenses. And if you run the numbers, it's actually a profit of 5,000, not a loss. So
Yeah, that's good news.
That's wonderful.
I just want to make sure.
Joanna.
Yeah.
You
I just
want
want to make sure that was
actually-
accurate. So
That's great, Jerry. My current, I have actually just put together a little update. I didn't do the full P&L sheet. I didn't have time today, but I've got a little update, but it might be guided a little bit differently with that information you just shared. So
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, you can rework that and we'll get back to it when we do the profit and loss. Thank you, Jerry. We make
so I
note.
guess
So with the
so
friendly amendment,
yeah, that's what I was going to say. So I think I would make a motion to accept the minutes with the amendment related to the $5,000
positive.
profit as stated in the minutes, basically, but there's a comment there. So
Okay, I'll second that. Any other discussion?
No.
If no other discussion? All in favor? Please state your name.
Dave in favor.
Robin Ellington, I.
Jean, aye.
Jerry, Justin, aye.
Ellen Mosher, aye. Okay, Next on our agenda is a statement from myself, the chair, and it has a little bit of some history of some things that have been taking place this week. And Jerry, I will send it out. I did write it, but I didn't type it. As trustees of Osgood Hill, we continue our hopes and wishes that all have a very safe and healthy re-entry. Many additional changes have taken place over the last 2 weeks. We are anxiously awaiting the Stevens Estate re-entry of outdoor services. We have a well thought out COVID protocol. Thank you, Joanna, as well as a fabulous marketing and sales initiative that has already begun with many ideas and much success. Our partnering, our sales are being completed with deposits stemming from our virtual touring and many communications with our director. Will be profitable and meet our revenue target for F20. That is our forecast as of today. That is without any other deposits that we are anticipating through the end of June or any revenue that may take place. We will, during this unprecedented time, we feel very fortunate. Many of those, as we have discussed, we as a small business ourselves, we are an engine for other opportunities for other small businesses in the area. So once we're back in motion of smaller events, many small events, medium-sized events, et cetera, as the protocol allows, we also will have the other businesses partaking. So that's a very positive. Part of the communications that I am reading before town meeting has me somewhat concerned. As an enterprise fund, part of our regulations statewide as well on an enterprise fund, and we're certified through the state, we need to have a better understanding with our partners in town. All communications, agreements, and contracts have to be mutually agreed upon with the trustees. And there is verbiage in our annual town report that is incorrect, misstated. And in the warrant, it is old figures. And I wish that someone had discussed with us where we were right before printing. That would have been in a better place than what has been printed. There has also been information on the annual town report stating there is depreciation of $120,000. That is something new to me, and I will tend to have profit and loss give us some explanation that they have been able to read during the day. The trustee, Jean Irwin, was not included on the member, which again, there is a lot of misstatements and representation, and we are still not clear on some of the bank statement information that we, for once in 10 years, were able to see a statement as of March. We are working, and we thank the town manager for her due diligence. We are still waiting for our information on 1.6 million that has been e-transferred. I do question where our investments are, what other accounts there are, and how the munis system is not equal to our accrual system that we work on as the Stevens Estate. So a lot of that has to be worked on, and I would implore town management to actually meet with us and review protocol and policies and procedures so that there is a clear understanding that we still aren't seeing statements April, May, and now going into June, and that had been requested and voted and approved. So we do need to see all bills, all statements, and wherever else our assets lie, because we still cannot put the front page are our health and well-being of the Stevens Estate, which includes our retained earnings. And under the enterprise, all funds, unless appropriated from our own funds through town meeting protocol, that is how our budget is funded. So I do want to make it very clear for those that are listening that we do not take funds from the general fund. I have received many questions since our last meeting. There's been many threads on even the NA Residence Public School asking if the Stevens Estate received funds from the town that may take away from the schools. The answer is no. We are self-funding, we have no debt, and we do not take funds from the town of North Andover. The funds that are appropriated at town meeting are appropriated out of our own funds, pre-earned, so the bills can be paid and expenses can be paid and our salary of staff can be paid. So there is no funds that are taken. And again, any authorized transactions that occur still at this time has been asked and still will be asked. They go through the director, who will share with the trustees at our meetings of anything that is perhaps a question or on a need to know basis. There needs to be a check and balance. We are also awaiting, because we got approval from our town manager concerning donations. We are able, there was no reason not to be able to accept donations all these years. I was one that has been asking for many years as a volunteer when checkbooks were out from foundations, corporations that wanted to donate, families, residents, and from the Stevens family themselves. That donation button would have been crucial to our marketing plan and has been, but we have yet to been able to use it. We are still waiting for a process and procedure from Town Hall. Many companies that are in this COVID-19 era have relied on a donation button on all correspondence that would have been quite positive for the Stevens Estate. So we will continue to work on that endeavor. And I do want to remind those that are listening that we are a full board. That has been brought into question as well over the past couple of weeks. We are not an advisory committee. We are not the Stevens Estate Long-Term Advisory Committee. We are the trustees of Osgood Hill. We mean we have the role and responsibility of the entire Osgood Hill, including the main house, the Stevens Estate. We are a full board that was voted in with over a majority at town meeting in '97, when they also authorized us for managerial and fiduciary responsibility for everything at Osgood Hill, and including the enterprise fund that was certified as an enterprise for the Stevens Estate through the state. So I wanted to make that clear. I can't type that as many times as I have this week. We also, like I said, we need to go over with Town Hall the checks and balances. That will only make everybody transparent. Given the opportunity to establish many of our partnerships in our community, we're looking forward to many of our outdoor activities in the future. Sooner is better. And we thank the residents for their full confidence and support. And I have heard from many in between these meetings that they are very thankful that we have been there, and they've enjoyed the summer garden tours, the fall tours, and especially the holidays. So look forward to what's next, and hopefully a pleasant surprise, fabulous business to our magnificent treasure in the town of North Andover. Thank you. Next on the agenda will be the observations. Jerry, you had sent an additional email. And have you had any other responses on our reports and inquiries 1 through 23?
So this is Jerry. So I sent a note to Melissa on Monday, trying to get an update before this meeting today, and have not received a response. Really, I was looking for, has something been scheduled? I wasn't actually anticipating a meeting that actually happened yet, given the town meeting prep and everything else, but at least to have it on the radar screen. So I don't know if if town meetings getting in the way of that or not, but no response as of now.
Okay. I believe I will be following up with a phone call over the next day or two, just a check-in, and to schedule some type of Google Meet. I know we have to open meetings, so there might just be two of us and our director, and we can talk about that. If it's a profit and loss, you can go on, talk about your information, and then go off, and maybe another call can be arranged for another night on the donations and the marketing and advertising. So just so that we're all on the same page going into the new fiscal year. So I think that would be advised, and I don't think we need a vote on that, but I would love to hear from Jerry and Dave on the profit and loss, with Joanna with any updates, please.
So as far as the subcommittee goes, there's nothing to report. We reported at the last meeting through the month, well, as of May 18th when we had the meeting, and we'll do the same thing for June at the next meeting in July, basically. And as I mentioned at the meeting last time, that we'll be using that as the kind of general report from a profit and loss perspective, but then certainly Joanna will continue to do what she's already doing and encompass that within the director's report. So that would be my suggestion on path forward.
Thank you. Dave, anything?
No, it should. There really shouldn't have been any changes to that, and that are substantial in the last 2 weeks. So
Okay. I didn't know if you did any tweaking or you reread anything. Jean, anything on Munis that you can add to the profit and loss discussion? I know you had asked, you're on mute. No. Okay.
Not right now.
Go ahead,
Not
go.
right now.
Okay. I know you had asked some questions that you were looking through the Munis as far as possible account during the transfers, but you hadn't picked up anything else.
Yeah, I think we need to see the town's end of that. That's what I was saying. Like, we need to see, where the fund transfer was from the bank into the town's accounts.
Okay.
Like, you'll be able to track that through Munis.
Okay. And Munis being a cash in, cash out and not an accrual, how does it show investments? Or does it not?
I'm not quite sure how to answer that, actually.
Would retained earnings be in the Munis?
It should be,
Account.
yeah. It would be, yeah, because it's a revolving fund.
So,
It's a self-sustaining revolving fund, so it would just remain there as a balance.
yeah,
yeah.
So sorry to interrupt. From where I can see in Munis, there isn't an account or a fund for the retained earnings, but there is a revenue. There is expenses in terms of the expenses that are being incurred. But then there's the capital improvement project and the CPA projects. They're also listed within Munis, and funds are allocated into those sub accounts. Nothing. I don't see any retained account.
Those would be all under the same umbrella of the Stevens Estate Fund.
Yeah,
Like,
but it might be my limitations, and again, that would go back to the town. I have a different level of viewing as from different people. So
I have a question.
Please, Robin.
Does the movement of funds from one account to another require an annual town meeting vote? Does it
Yes.
require a vote of the Board of Trustees? How does that work?
That's a good question. So it gets voted on at town meeting. It's one of the warrants, as you know. It's warrant number 20 that's coming up next week.
Right.
I don't think there's anything else.
So any movement of funds between July 1st and June 30th.
From
would
our
be-
deposit account, are you saying?
I'm sorry?
Are you saying from our deposit account? Because that's the only account that we were given statements from.
I would say any account that has the Stevens Estate name on it. I'm only aware of one because those are the bank records that we received for review for items 1 through 23. But if they're to rephrase it, between July 1st of 2019 and June 30th of 2020, if money is moved from one account to another, shouldn't that come to a town vote for approval?
Yes, but cated with be point of votes, but in June or whenever the funds go in for July the 1st, nothing is until those funds are in. There are multiple year rollovers for the capital improvement funds, but it's wiped clean and starts again with new funds on July the 1st.
So
I don't
those
know
are
whether I'm
individual numbered
allocations that have
yeah.
been, that were approved at the budget and actually a part of the town meeting warrant. That's
Okay.
exactly what goes in once it's been voted on at the town meeting. And traditionally, that would be the director would work on that with the board of trustees prior to the budget time, which is what we were talking about in December. Remember, the board didn't get a chance to weigh in on those considerations in a timely manner, but typically that would be the case. The board would weigh in on those budget decisions. I would make recommendations with the board involved to my supervisor, who would then go to, as the division director would go to the top level and make the request, and then the town manager would shape it however the town manager sees fit.
Okay.
And then that gets approved at town meeting. So just to give it a few back steps from there, but that's the point at which the board is involved. And theoretically, the board shouldn't actually be involved, shouldn't need to be involved between June and July or May and July, because you've already weighed in and your voices are heard on the budget in December, the budget that was approved, and should already be included in the considerations when the town warrant is printed with Article 20 in it.
Okay, so now we know what we're going to do next year.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joanna.
But yeah, it's just because so many of you are, there's like a year of history that you didn't come to the group with. So
Right.
I think backtracking on that helps you understand that, why didn't we make any calls? Why didn't we weigh in when the budget was being decided? Or why was the decision made in what seemed like too later a time for the board to weigh in objectively on it? So moving forward, yes.
Got it.
But your bottom line, as far as how it reflects on our end, what I see, and it could be different, and Melissa can correct me on this, because I don't know the enterprise funds as well as she does. But I mean, for the funds that I look at and that we have a fund that has, say, over $500,000 in it, and that's come over a time of 10 years. That fund balance still stays there, but every year they have a different allocation of a budget. Now that's it's a whole different top line, it's a whole top line different budget than what the fund balance is.
Yeah, so basically there's an accumulation of the capital improvement project funds that if they're not spent, that get rolled over. But yes, the basic salaries, operating expenses, they are refreshed every year.
Your annual budget is a whole different section. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and that's all that relates to me.
So what you're saying is that every year everything gets refreshed. You carry nothing forward.
No. So I understand that the town tries to get that money moved out of those accounts because that means that money's been spent and it's nice and clean. But there are challenges to having that money be spent in a certain time period.
You still have the credit or the allocation. Doesn't matter if
Yeah.
Unless,
no,
unless they've spent it on, I see what you're saying, unless they've spent it on improvements, if they've spent it
just
on improvements.
The operational expenses are basically wiped out at the end of the year and they start fresh. But yes, the capital improvements and CPA funds roll over. If we spend another $20 this year, there's still, the funds get rolled over into next year. But the town actually looks at that because that's the munis top line level. It's all included. It's that $790,000 budget that we have every year. But I only look at the $340,000 budget that relates specifically to the operations because that's the
Right.
business I'm running. So yeah.
Right.
And there was
Yeah.
a discussion of projects finished to roll that back into the enterprise.
I'm sorry,
Projects-
say that again.
Projects that are complete. There were
Yes,
balances.
and that has happened. Any projects that have been closed and completed, yes, the funds have gone back into retained earnings. That hasn't happened in my case because none of the funds have closed since I've been there because the projects have all been ongoing. Like we started the bathrooms in 2017 and we're still spending that same leftover funds on the bathrooms in 2020.
Okay.
So it depends on the speed and the how fast the capital improvement projects get done, which basically is based on the events business. We have to work in the off season. There's other restrictions too. So yeah, so it's not as simple in 1 year, use it, get rid of it at the end of the year. There's a lot of rollovers, which you can't use for operational requirements, which is
Okay. All right.
Hope that's helpful. Sorry if it's too much.
No, it makes sense. Any other updates, Joanna? What would you like to fill us in? And I do want to just reiterate that you mentioned Article 20, and Article 20 again, excuse me, that allows us to utilize our funds to continue servicing our customers. So
Yeah. So yeah, just to give you a quick update, I won't dwell too much on the financials because we do a more in-depth look at the end of the month. But what I'm looking at right now is expenses are estimated at $230,000 for the full year, which is ending at the end of this month. And I've included in that about $6,000 worth of COVID-related expenses related to equipment, PPE, more sanitizers, all the things, iPad screen protectors and little things that you don't need to use your fingertips on for the POS systems and things like that. So including that, I'm calculating that we'll be in terms of expenses at $230,000. And then without any additional deposits, I'm projecting about $10,000 in losses at the end of the fiscal year, but that includes the COVID-19, the COVID-19 expenses. So we're really, really close on the line. And yeah, I think in between the $5,000 profit that Jerry pointed out at the beginning of this meeting and a $10,000 loss, I think the numbers are so small and whether those get spent between now and the end of June is questionable anyway. But we're pretty close. Between last board meeting and this board meeting, I got a deposit for another wedding in 2021. So this is the 2 out of the 5 deposits that I'm literally counting on getting between now and the end of June to actually give us a clear profit at the end of the year, which would be awesome. But basically, as I said, the expenses are at $230,000, which is still like less than 65% of our budget, which needs clarifying because in the warrant that just went out under the financial committee, they said that we're going to be at 75% of expenses at the end of the year when 65, there's a good 10% difference right there. That, just because of the later publishing of these numbers compared to when the warrant was published. So I'm looking pretty optimistic about that. In terms of where we are with the schedule, I will wait till Ellen and Robin talk a little bit more about the marketing stuff that we've been talking about. But we have a kind of a better idea of where we're going with the schedule. It looks like phase 3 included in phase 3 for approximately 3 weeks after phase 2 opening, which is right now with the restaurants outside. There's a potential for outdoor weddings and events with significant restrictions in phase 3. And I clarified that with Melissa. She says, yes, that's what we're working on right now. But Charlie Baker, his thing is about the number of people that are gathered together. So we're gonna have to wait the next 2 weeks out of those 3 weeks to figure out what his final answer is on that. But it leaves me feeling really, really optimistic that yes, we have rebooked our event starting in the middle of August. Now, if that's the case, we have an opportunity from July the 4th, from the 4th of July weekend through to the middle of August, to rent out the outside spaces and the tents for these restricted small group weddings, mini monies, micro weddings, and maybe even some other opportunities that we might be able to explore with local businesses too. So I've kind of isolated a 6-week period between the 4th of July and when our events actually kick into gear in August, that we could actually do a lot more than we had planned to, because as I've been telling you, the Stevens Estate is perfectly primed to be a destination that meets with the new normal in terms of our outdoor spaces and smaller group sizes and things like that. So yeah, so I'm kind of really optimistic about that.
And
Then just
Yeah.
before I finish, I just wanted to hand over, since I'm talking about COVID-19,
yes,
at the last board meeting, Jerry asked me to put together what I had in my mind in terms of a preparedness plan. So I just emailed you at the start of our meeting what I have put together. It's basically a 2-page piece, which includes several sections. And there are several different areas that I'm actually really in the thick of working on right now. The preparedness plan outline fits into 4 sections, but within those 4 sections, there are, a lot of significant elements. So in the first section, we're developing the protocol for the pre-opening, which includes a deep cleaning, which includes having a new cleaning and maintenance schedule and protocol in place. By the end of this week, if I'm opening the estate for employees at 25% next week. So there's some things that have to take really, really higher precedent. And actually it's been helpful outlining all of these things and breaking them down into a little bit more detail, because I can ask for help at this point from some of these things. So the stage 1 is the development of the protocol in terms of the cleaning, office guidelines and documentation and maintenance logs and things like that, signage, new flow diagrams for events, hand washing, sanitizing stations. I'm about 75 to 90% done with that, because that was all the preliminary stuff. It just needs defining on pieces of paper with colored boxes around it. Number 2 is the procurement of the equipment. I can send you all a list of my shopping list. I've been working with Steve Foster on this. There's 2 kind of elements of it. So I originally got quotes for everything, including personal protective equipment, etc., from Conlon Services, which is in Lawrence, which is the town vendor, and I would be requesting a PO for it, and it would go through Stevens Estate expenses and things like that. Then,
Joanna, do you want me to share your report on this screen?
actually, I can do it.
Yeah, I
It's
think that would
probably
be
easier
helpful.
taking a look at it. Hold on.
Yeah.
So I'm going to present. Hold on. A window.
and the PPE is the expenses that will be receipted to the CARES Act, correct?
See, I don't know about this. So
And-
this is what I am sensing now. This is going to be something that creates a challenge for the Stevens Estate, because as we know, so I went into this expecting the Stevens Estate to pay for everything. And yes, I had some little bugs on my shoulder saying, people, go through the CARES Act, which has always been at the back of my mind because we're a government-owned facility. However, I have always tried to stand alone, as you obviously know, and say we don't need to go through the CARES Act, through the government, if we can do this by ourselves. And what better way to show to the town that we can take care of ourselves? We're not depending on the town
Right. They just got,
Procurement for
they
our
got $2.7 million, right?
right. So I'd rather not be in the position where somebody can say there's $90 of the CARES Act gone to the Stevens estate for some face masks. It really is not worth it. It really is not worth it, especially with
Coming to you.
with the school meeting that's taking place on Thursday night, and like this is becoming a really sensitive issue. So I'd rather we kept out of it if we can afford to do that, which I think we can.
So I
However,
guess,
go
so
ahead.
let me just comment
Please,
because
Gary.
I disagree.
I know Ellen disagrees with me too.
That I
Both
think
of
we
you, yeah.
should, for the purposes that we're talking about, and I understand all the influences that are around us,
Yeah.
but setting those aside, which quite honestly, I don't worry about those as much as the stability of the estate and starting activities, getting underway, that I think it's quite reasonable to expect some funds, because we're not talking about that much.
No.
It's not even going to put a dent in it. It's petty cash, basically.
Yeah.
That we should be asking for assistance with it. And I
Right.
think
Okay.
I don't think Andrew's on the phone, but I think he
Someone
was,
just brought
supportive
on
of that idea.
Andrew.
So
You're
By the way,
employees of the town.
Yeah. So
who's
thank
starting
you.
with-
And I don't disagree with you in general. I would be like ripping their hands off to ease my problem down the road when I won't have enough money for something. But that's kind of how sensitive I am, and yes, maybe I'm oversensitive about this issue because I'm living in town and with all the history that we've got with the Stevens estate. So yes, so going back to what actually happened, I did my list. So after our meeting last week or the week before, the town kind of said, okay, you need to put a list by 12 o'clock tomorrow of everything that you need and the quotes and which was a broad ambitious audacious request because everyone in town was freaked out by it, but basically by Monday and Tuesday of of last week, they'd created a Google form and then asked all departments to submit their requirements in terms of tabletop sanitizers, wall mounted sanitizers, um, face masks, gloves, all of the basic stuff that you would need. So I completed mine and submitted it. So basically, I'm waiting to see whether I haven't been told that that was for the CARES Act specifically, but I'm waiting to see from the town where that went.
right. It was to be submitted as a group.
Right. So that's why the Google form was created, and every department in
Right.
town actually submitted a request in, and that's how they tabulated everything, which totally makes sense.
And did they give you any indication on what percentage was going per department, by employee, by guests, such as
No,
Stevens
I
estate?
think, yeah, I think Melissa's thinking was that 2.7 million is a lot of money. We don't know what we'll need in 3
No,
months' time. We know exactly what we need right now.
It's not. Trust me, it's not when I'm looking at my end of it and purchasing on here, on this end.
Yeah.
It is going to be used up very quickly with the recommendations that they just came out with this week as far as what they want us to buy.
Schools,
Just
the
the
schools
schools alone.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
crazy when you actually calculate it out. The Association of Superintendents just said for a 3,700 student district, it's going to be an uplift of $2 million a year in expenses
Oh,
for 3,700. Yeah. So I mean, it's going to amount if they follow the recommendations that were set out this week.
yes.
So it's really not a lot of money. It
Yeah.
looks like a lot of money, but it's not.
Yeah. So that's basically, and I was obviously aware of that. Melissa's thinking of that. She's not just short-sighted thinking of it. She's thinking about the long term too. But I think knowing what you know now that is concrete is a better place to start than just having an endless plane of unknowns to start quantifying in some way. So yeah, so obviously the 2.7 million will be highly demanded by every single department in town, as it should be. I
Joanna,
would,
can I make a point?
yeah,
I mean, every business that I come across, they're almost passing along a COVID related
Yeah.
cost,
Yeah.
to whether it's a dentist or whether it's, some kind of office that you're going into for PPE. It's like they're kind of passing along some kind of COVID related costs because they're all increasing in expenses. So I understand where you're saying, like, you don't want to take it from the town, but we could get some from the town, but also put some kind of
Right.
charge on, like, if we do hold an event, there's going to be a certain small charge on there for a COVID
Right.
related,
So I'd much prefer to do that than
Yeah.
and address it because I know that
And it
the
will be dependent on the
argument
number of participants. We could say,
yeah.
for every 25 participants, we're gonna have to supply this, and that, because we know that they're not gonna either have it or that we're gonna need it.
Yeah. And I do
Well-
find that it's easier to educate clients when I'm in the same room with them than it is to educate a bunch of people in town on the mom's page who kind of I can't control in any way. Yes.
But we are due what we are due, as Jerry said, and I had asked you this question during the week. A $2,500 box of disposable masks were about $50. We're not robbing anyone. That is
Right.
something that most people will be required to bring masks. I know the vendors are all required at
This
other
is what we talked
venues.
about. Yeah,
But there
it's
will be those one or two people, oh, I forgot my mask, and we
right.
will have to give those out.
Sorry, we
You
have to send the
can't-
DJ home because he's
Right,
not
and you
brought his
can't
mask.
send the bride's mother home because she forgot her mask.
Yeah.
I truly think you're oversimplifying it as far as the usage.
Right.
Right.
But okay.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna worry, as Jerry said, $50 for a box of 2,500. We do need them. So,
Yeah. So I guess we'll wait and hear what comes out of things. I'm waiting for the PO for a bunch of stuff. I would say that the stuff that is ordered through the Google Forms it must be like $1,000 at the most, and the other 5,000 is all the other stuff that I would be paying for equipment upgrades and things like that. But yeah, I'll keep you posted on all of that good stuff.
yes,
But also
and
compared to the
I
rest,
don't disagree in theory that it's better to take money if people are offering it to you.
yeah, but also compared to the rest of the rest of the town isn't also making money off of,
Right.
they're using it for their operations.
right.
Exactly.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joanna,
We
I
have
guess
more
if you have
opportunity.
any questions with the PPE, Jean's right in the midst of it as well, more
Okay.
so than myself.
All
Um,
right. So yeah,
Any
I'll
other
just quickly
updates,
go
Joanna?
on. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, any other updates, Joanna?
No, just take a look at. So I won't go into all of the sections here, but yeah, I'm gonna need some help with some of the documentation, which is in section 3. So actually putting all of the documents in place, like the standard operating procedures and stuff like that. But now I've put this all written down, I've got the rest of this week to kind of figure out what I can do, and then I'll hopefully be able to dish some stuff out to some of you people that have got time to just enter some information and compute. Maybe Robin, that could be a project for you.
I
So
have
this, so this is Jerry. So one other comment. So I think Joanna, this is good. I'm glad you put this together. Something that might be valuable is it's not clearly stated within here around kind of what kind of reviews and or approvals you need within the town kind of infrastructure, I'll say,
Yeah.
for for some of these things, particularly the ones that are in item number 3. I don't know how the town is kind of handling how do we make sure that all these elements are kind of in line with not just what the CDC and the Board
Yeah.
of Health and whatever,
That's what I was
but
wondering who oversees it.
kind of
Yeah.
down. Yeah. So along those lines, I would assume, Andrew is providing the support along with you to kind of navigate the waters as it relates to who needs to review and approve and kind of oversee.
Yeah, so
Um,
basically,
yeah.
I am paying very close attention to all of these things too. I am uh, even more than Andrew, Brian LaGrasse is. I'm in contact with him at least twice a week
Board of Health.
he's the Board of Health Director, and he actually falls under Andrew's department too. But I work very closely with Brian. I update them on any finished documentation as I finish it, and let them take a look at it and see if there's any screaming errors that I need to change, things like that. In addition, so there are things about the Stevens estate that people in town aren't aware of, those parameters that I need to be considering. So I was attending a wedding planners event, Zoom event a couple of weeks ago, and I was given this information for this Event Safety Alliance, which is a national organization, and they've got a reopening plan. So basically, in addition, I'm kind of layering so many different layers, because I know the town can't help me address some of these things specifically related to the events industry and events themselves. But I'm not publishing any documentation without going to Andrew. In fact, I emailed Melissa this morning and gave her what I thought would be the scenario if nothing changes from now. If we have these assumptions that the numbers just keep getting better, that we're allowed some kind of restricted events in July. And she was on board with everything that I had put together for her. And I just told her I'm going to be CCing her, the town manager, on everything that I sent to Andrew in terms of this documentation too. So basically, once I think I've done it, I'm going to send it to the board.
Okay.
Then I'm going to send it to Brian LaGrasse at the Board of Health. And then at that point, I think there's enough people who've had their eyes on it specifically, and I would give it to Andrew for his blessing and CC Melissa.
Can I ask you, Joanna, what is Brian saying? Is it more the Board of Health, or is it Department of Public Health? Like, who is going to really kind of be?
I think Brian LaGrasse at the Board of Health is taking the lead on a lot of these things, because Andrew knows that he has more expertise than him in that area, so he's deferring to Brian on a lot of things. But Brian is basically dictating the town's response to the coronavirus. So he's working really closely with Melissa too. And he's updating everybody at the weekly meetings and things like that. So he's like the go-to person in town who's got the latest and greatest information. And it's not like anybody else isn't paying attention. Everybody's paying attention.
Yeah.
But I think unless you want to suggest otherwise, I think my my levels of seniority would kind of start with the board, because you will give me the first version of the insight. You have some more operational experience that can help at the estate between you than people at the town hall do. So having your input first, I think, is really critical. Then Brian, and then Andrew and Melissa.
So
Well, I
Brian's
think this
probably
is
getting
very thorough.
Yeah.
In layman terms, we can start looking and coordinating June 15th and on, starting to look at what is allowed and what protocols and so forth. So let's say someone has taken the virtual tour. They now want to have a tour of the bridal suite in person.
Right. So this again is I am
With
dependent on waiting for the town manager to give me the okay. That would open tours to the public come in when the town authorizes public access to the town buildings.
Okay.
So on that day, I can have tours inside the house.
Okay.
And you'll be the first to hear about it, Ellen.
Well, when you have 25 brides and you have several
All
that want
right.
to book, and they've
Yeah.
gone through, they have been very patient. I'm so thankful we did the virtual tour with pictures and
Yeah.
vendor PSAs and everything. It's a fabulous site to visit. But I know a bride getting married wants to touch and feel and
Yeah.
sit down in the bridal suite. So
Right.
that would be possible. Anything else before we go to marketing, Robin?
I will pass over. Yeah, I'm all set. Oops.
Robin, you're
In
up.
the interim, it's Rosemary. I've
Hi,
been on for
Rosemary.
probably about 10-15 minutes,
I
but you were
saw the
also,
number.
yeah, so I saw you were also engaged. One thought, and I don't know if it ties into what Joanna just said. I know Town Hall is doing a deep cleaning. I believe it's tomorrow and Friday. So I'm anticipating that that's a sign we're going to be opening the doors soon, but don't hold me to that. It just seems logical they deep clean before people come back in, but
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know
so.
that. Yeah.
Sorry, Rosemary. Yes, so the town hall will be opening on that 25% basis to employees from next week. So that's why the deep cleaning is this week. But we're still pending on the open to the public situation. But yes, I've already got a quote in place for my deep cleaning, and
Good.
I expect that to be done early next week too.
Wonderful.
Only
Wonderful.
thing I have to say, in the real estate industry, we've had permission to conduct open houses for a while now. And those houses are a lot smaller than your big house up there. I'm just a little surprised that you follow the protocol. I don't know, just throwing that out there. I don't know if there would be an exception for the estate to start having tours of, on a limited basis, like you would have the bride and maybe parents or something. But so just again throwing that out there, something to talk about. So,
That's interesting because there's a lot of other venues as well that have been starting over the past 2 weeks, having 2-3 people with masks, socially distanced, having tours of other venues. So that's why I've been asking almost daily, when can we have a real tour? When can you have at least 2 people to take a tour at a time? So
yeah.
Joanna has reminded me that it is a town building, so we do have to go by opening of town buildings, but like Rosemary, and welcome Rosemary, it is something that if there could be an exception for a tour, it is a retail business. We are a for-profit business. So it does have a different caveat attached to it. So
Okay.
we can
I
only
have to.
ask.
I'll just say we just booked 2 weddings in 2 weeks, so without any tour, without any inside tour. So while it's difficult, it's not impossible.
The building
And
itself with their great tour guide who's on the
really
phone.
does. That's right.
well, we have lots of good things coming. Robin, why don't you share while Rosemary's on some of our
Okay.
marketing and our promotional?
So in the last in our last board meeting, we reviewed the marketing plan 2020. And so Joanna set up a meeting among Ellen, Joanna, Kumara Brady, her new assistant, and me, so that we could go over that marketing plan and figure out what the scope of responsibility was. We decided what the priorities would be, and Joanna let Humara know that when she starts that there were a number of things that she wanted her to focus on right away. So we spent 2.5 hours on the phone. And as we were talking, I updated the marketing plan because so many ideas were coming out of this video meeting we had. It was really quite excellent. So I still have to update that. It was last week, and I'm a little behind. I apologize, but I will update that and have it ready for the next.
Well, you can give us some highlights if you'd like.
Okay, that means I have to find it and open it. All right. So somebody do a little tap dance while I do that.
All right. Well, we were talking about the, the confidence of moving ahead with audiences, the brides and families, whether Joanna has enlisted a concept of Sunday or Saturday teas. There is a caterer in town that we can actually utilize that timing for cross-selling, having them at the estate. They are looking at venues. They may have a bridal tea to discuss wedding planning, and it all could be part of the advertising. And then we are open for bookings. So fiscal 21 is here, and we've never stopped trying our best for our bookings. So even though COVID shut the building down, our staff, Joanna, has been working diligently and sales have remained constant. So that's at the town bookings, maximizing, and then the town residents. We were looking at different businesses within town and our partnerships. I know we have a meeting with the youth center, Google Meet, Zoom, talking about their summer fun is scheduled to start at the end of June. And they had some training they can do up on the property. They can do some trails. They can set up some of their programming. Are you ready, Robin?
Yes, I am. Thank you. You did
Go
a
for
great
it.
job, Ellen. Okay. Also, work outings are going to be an emphasis because there is that wide open spread of property. Vendors staged shoots where they could be doing photography, hair, and makeup. Fashion shows in collaboration with the North Andover Women's Club. Pop-up and
Here,
truck
here.
shows. Sorry?
I just said here, I'm the president of the club.
That's right.
so that's-
Okay.
We're moving
we
you
know who to
outdoors
go
this
to
year.
Then, Rosemary.
okay.
Pop-up
will-
and trunk shows such as Uncommon Threads and Vineyard Vines. Also to concentrate on the real estate, medical, and teaching markets where they could be conducting CEU trainings at the Stevens Estate, and also bicycle rentals. I think that was your idea, Joanna. Okay, so then for town organizations.
And I went for the winter snowshoe rentals, working with the Trails Committee.
Uh-oh, I better add that one. Then for town organizations, we added family days, picnics, free access to the gardens. That's kind of a side comment to Stevens Coolidge Place because they charge, we don't. I think the overall, the underlying discussion for the whole 2.5 hours was, we are a viable business. We are a profitable business. We are open where many other venues are not. So how do we capitalize on that message to our 6 or 7 constituencies? And so I have to update this and send it out to everybody so that you can see how many changes have been made to this living, breathing marketing plan.
Wonderful.
You know what I wonder if we could tie into is the chamber. I'm pretty sure the town were members of the chamber, but I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity to get on their website for advertisement or something, because we in the past had chamber breakfasts at the Stevens Estate, frequently, like several times a year.
Yes,
so
that was already in the marketing plan, Rosemary.
Okay,
And
sorry about that.
We're looking at North Andover businesses, North Andover Merchants Association, Merrimack Valley Chamber, and then area nonprofits.
Okay, sounds
let them
good.
know that they can
The Historical
utilize the
Society,
property.
the Improvement Society, the Senior Center, the library. There's many opportunities there as well.
All sounds
Okay.
good.
Then
Yeah.
for
Schools.
vendors, we were talking about a winter wonderland under the tent with limited attendance, physical distancing, a mini ice skating rink, under the tent activities, and photography options. Hosting restaurant nights for those businesses to host their customers. And I saw on your plan, Joanna, that there were pop-up nights. And I'm so excited to see something like that happening because I'll go.
That's
That-
actually something, a lot has happened just in the last 8 hours, if you want me to update you on some of that good
Please
stuff.
do, please do.
So I'm going to share you this screen again. Hold on. It's right here.
I'll do the tap dance this time.
And I'll take you to this bottom page. So it looks like with the way that our events have moved, we have an opportunity between assuming that the numbers continue on the same trajectory for COVID-19 as they have done. So between the weekend of the 4th of July and our first postponed event, which takes place in mid-August, we've got 6 weeks available where we have a
Wow.
tent, we have expansive outdoor spaces, and we have a town full of restaurants who can only serve customers in the parking lot with 20 people eating at a time. I approached Jay Duffley at Joe Fish in the Loft last week. He thinks it's a really good idea. He's talking to Jim Dietz about it. I sent a message to Melissa and Andrew this morning. They think it's a great idea. Andrew told me I should get in touch with Brian. So this afternoon I have sent an email to Brian, Brian at the Board of Health, asking what he thinks are the considerations and challenges and what I need to be thinking of before going full scream ahead on this. But if you look at the calendar, this little schedule ahead of you, we've got a really great period. There's a reason why we had fewer bookings anyway this summer, because both the 4th of July and Labor Day falls on a weekend, like a Saturday. So that kills most wedding weekends. Because people don't want to give up their Labor Day weekend. So we have got Labor Day weekend. We have got 4 weekends in July, the first one being the 4th of July. And then also, if we look at the end of October, we've got Saturday night Halloween. We could have, so if North
cool.
Andover's Trick or Treat is on Saturday night until 7:30, what would be better than going up to the haunted house? We wouldn't do anything inside, but we would have the tent up and we'd have some spooky outdoor little games for people to play, and have a kind of a Halloween event to kind of wrap up the season.
I think it's
But
great.
yeah, I think that we've got so many restaurants in town that would be really into this. Once we get like the configuration and the logistics kind of squared away, I've got to talk to Brian about the bathroom use and the kitchens and stuff like that. But we all think it's feasible. And it could be really awesome because restaurants will be successful, the town wins, the restaurant owners win, and the people win because everybody wants to go out to a big event, and they're used to going to, the Loft or Statues or whatever, and picking a takeout, but they're not used to going out and celebrating that they're out in public again, so I think that few weeks is going to be really, really good. And we'll probably have fewer people traveling to the Cape over the summer, so maybe more people will be in town over the summer period.
So
You
I
know
think
what I'd
this,
like? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jerry.
yeah, this is Jerry. I think this is really a great idea because what I hear on the news is there's a lot of places that don't have outdoor seating. And when
Right.
the state eventually allows indoor seating, it's going to be spaced out. It's going to be limited,
Yeah.
people in the building. I think there's an excellent opportunity here. So kudos to you, Joanna, for pulling together, and also kudos to Robin because it sounds like a very excellent, if that's the right terminology,
I'll use that word. Yeah.
Well, we have to come up with,
marketing plan as well.
we have to
Yeah.
come up with
Okay,
a,
one more
dining
addition.
at dining at Osgood Hill or dining at the, Stephen, we'll come up with some tagline. But
Yeah.
the good part is we can offer tables and chairs. They can do their linens. They
Yeah.
will be subsidizing, if not paying, all the restaurants in full for the tent.
Right. So the restaurants will pay for the tent. We take maybe a reduced catering fee at 5% or something,
Because we
and we'll
keep the
take the
bar.
bar. Yeah.
Because we have the outdoor bar license.
We
A
could
lot
do
of-
like a drive-in movie night and project a movie and charge per whatever.
We've
And then
already kind of looked at that. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, did you?
Yes. The library does a movie night for the kids, but there's nothing wrong with, we'll make sure we have our spraying in order from the town
Yeah.
this year. But there's nothing wrong with the Greater Boston Vintage Society has wanted for July to do an orchestra lawn party where everything would be ordered through their portal, and their members come from all over, 200 just for New Year's Eve. And we get a percentage. They rent the estate.
Yeah.
So we could have drive-in theater nights in the parking lot. We could be showing movies,
Or even on the lawn.
documentaries, and YouTube events.
Yeah.
Caterers could deliver boxed meals.
I'm already. Yeah.
We could
Talking about.
also host town meeting overflow and do vendor demonstrations.
Exactly.
Yahoo! Yes.
Okay, then lastly, we've got the museum aspect of the Stevens estate. And it's
Oh,
an educational resource. It's a destination for school field trips. We could portray Moses Stevens' intentions, Oscar Wilde's aesthetic movement influences. That's a mouthful. Missing history and literary lectures to work alongside the North Andover Historical Society.
yeah.
Open it up to other communities. Poetry readings, breakout rooms inside and out, and then also host senior week photos next year for high
Yeah.
school graduates.
Yeah, that's a nice one. I like that.
For music, musicians could perform via video, one musician per room. And we also talked about the development of a signature tune for the Stevens estate.
That'll be fun. Fun project.
Yeah.
Anna Choi, where are you?
We should definitely get a signature cocktail.
Yeah, right. I was starting
Yes,
with a cocktail,
definitely.
then the tune will come easily.
Yeah, and everybody will like it.
Yeah, right?
I have a thought, Robin.
Yes.
I don't know what the current status is of the farmers market.
They're
But
opening next week.
they are, but are they, I mean, they're kind of constrained by space where they are, right? Like, are they going to be able to spread out? I guess they probably can with the street
I think
there.
they've turned it into a one-way street,
Well, they
basically.
closed off the street.
Yeah. Well,
Right. No, they always did that, but it was kind of very intimate in the past, right? It was really kind of close
Yeah.
together.
It's boom,
And
boom, 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 boom.
well,
every
yeah,
night.
that was just a thought I had that maybe they could take a look at us as an alternative.
that would
All
be
right, I'll
nice.
put it on the list here.
Yeah.
Or an antique show, they could.
Oh, I've always wanted to do
Oh,
that.
I like
Antiques
that.
Roadshow. I've got a contact for the
Antique Roadshow.
lady at
Oh,
The
WVUR.
roadshow.
Yeah.
And this old house has to come back.
Mhm.
Yeah, they do. Hmm.
So we did cover an awful lot about placement, website, as well. We'll get to you, Dave, as far as any of the IT inquiries, but social media, a lot of the announcements that are made in town, sharing of information, the quarterly tax newsletters, and so forth. So
Okay. I'm stopped sharing now.
okay. Any other updates, anyone? That was great, Joanna. Thank you, Robin. I have
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Dave.
Ellen, so John and I met about IT
Yes.
and the website and all that. So now I fully understand the sequence of events, and we're ready to get together. It's quite a story, but we're ready.
We only
ready to-
have 10 more, 15, 20 more minutes.
No. It just won't take that long. Nothing like that. No. Basically, I get what happened. I'm now ready to meet with Chris.
Oh,
So
good.
the two of us will meet with Chris to try to kind of get to the bottom of it. I don't immediately see why they can't do what we need to do with probably just takes a little bit of pushing, to be frank, on our side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To just get him to react and make the changes he needs to make. To summarize for everyone's benefit, I think what happened, as I piece it together, what I think happened is, somebody attacked for whatever reason. I don't know why they would pick the Stevens estate part. People do strange things, but in any event, somebody attacked it and were causing issues, right? So so Chris did what any IT person would do. He kind of like stopped it.
Reined it in, yeah.
Yeah, but without him being, for lack of a more professional term, nudged enough to do what Joanna needs to do, he just kind of put it together fast, and it's missing stuff, right? It's missing functionality, and one of the biggest
Right.
things it's missing is the ability to be properly viewed on a
Yes.
mobile device, right? Because
Hmm.
what young people do is they don't sit at their computer like us and look at stuff.
Yeah.
They'll get on their phone, right? And that's what's really
Right.
lacking, right? So, but the good news is it's not that hard. I don't believe it's that hard to make that happen. So it's just a matter, right? We just have to become the squeaky wheel. So that's what we're going to
Yeah.
wonderful, because that other website was so industry focused.
Mm.
And to find it is a lot easier.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think it's a problem for the town to continue to host it, and I can see why they would probably insist on that from a technology point of view, but it doesn't mean it can't do what it needs to do, right? And
Yeah.
Joanna paid for a developer to develop a nice system, and then we didn't use it. He's basically, as I understand it, he scraped the screen and just threw some static pictures up there that can't be manipulated the way they should be. But if he can host one thing, he can host the other, right? If he can host a static picture, he can also host the dynamic one that Joanna wants. So,
Yeah.
we've already got the design done, so we just a matter of getting to
Getting it back.
be willing
It
to
just has to
put it
go
in.
to that website.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks,
that's
Dave.
that.
Yeah, I
Thank
think we'll
you.
give Chris till after the town meeting, but we'll set up a meeting for maybe the end of next week.
Perfect.
Yeah. that's
Yeah.
good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I'm trying to think any other updates that we can think of. Any other business? The only thing that I would like to bring up, one is of make a motion, someone, I believe as last year as chair, I probably need to step to the mic, mask and gloves and all, when Article 20 is brought up. The Board of Selectmen have voted favorable action. I am not sure what the Finance Committee is deliberating. It's our funds, and we have already booked enough in F21, and it's not even in F21, to cover that revenue target.
Ellen, I think that so the finance committee are meeting before the meeting. They will make their decision before you speak. Is that right?
Well, they will meet prior to the
I
5
don't know.
o'clock start of town
Okay,
meeting.
so but we won't know what they say.
But I do
When
want,
the article gets called, they will either make the motion or the Board of Selectmen will make the motion, but then they will state their vote.
Okay.
So it would be at that time that the public would be allowed to speak after they make, they declare how the Finance Committee voted.
I just wish it was more transparent or open communication. I don't know what they're concerned about, because everything that we, our role, which I think needs to be accepted and not go backwards to prior town management, that we are trustees of Osgood Hill. We do have the role of managing and the fiduciary responsibility. We don't take this lightly. And we have not had a conversation with the Board of Selectmen, other than yourself, Rosemary, but not with the Finance Committee on anything related to the Stevens estate for over 16 months. So the question I'm having is that the negative going into, or residents walking into town meeting, one, there's mistakes on the warrant with misstatements, and the annual report is not accurate as well. So having no action on there, people already have a predetermined, and this is something that I will stand and, the minute they make their comments, and thank the residents for their confidence last year and update them. And I'm asking the board to give me permission.
So can someone just enlighten me on Article 20? Because I thought Article 20 was the budget.
No, Article 20 is the Stevens estate allocation appropriated funds from their own funds to the general fund of the town, so that we can have our expenses and salary paid for. So we don't pay from the enterprise. It has to be allocated, appropriated at town meeting to the town in order to take care of paying the bills, I guess you could call it. Right, Rosemary?
Yes,
Does that make sense, Jerry?
So we're talking about the funds for fiscal 20 or fiscal
21.
21?
21.
21. So with all the
Got
rescheduled
it.
events and new events that are being booked, Joanna knows what the average per event with catering, with the bar, with cost of rental, et cetera, times the number of events. And we're just about there, and we haven't even started in F21. And we've been living through COVID-19. So there's not a problem meeting that revenue target.
Well, we can't say that because
No, but I'm just being
you're
very
predicting the
positive.
future, which we
Right.
can't
Yeah.
speak to. So just back on the question. So if I understand it properly, it's really to get approval from town meeting that rather than basically the Stevens estate incurring the cost, the indirect expenses for our town services, basically, that it's basically saying that the town will fund those out
No,
of its general fund.
n-
Is that,
No,
No.
no.
it's the
This-
opposite?
it's the opposite. This is
Okay,
saying that
gotcha.
we have a target revenue to meet our expenses of, well, I don't have it in front of me.
Well, I can read
200
it.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can read it. It's Article 20. It's actually Article 20. Appropriation Stevens Estate Enterprise Fund for fiscal year 2021. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the amount of $360,429 in aggregate for the purpose listed under the column FY21 recommendation, Town Manager, Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee for the fiscal year beginning July 21st, 2020 and ending June 30th, 2021, without regards to individual line items, and to operate the Stevens Estate at Osgood Hill Enterprise Fund, and that 360,000, et cetera, be raised from the Stevens Estate at Osgood Hill Fund. So it's basically the town meeting has to approve every enterprise fund every year.
Correct. Yep. I
That's all
understand
it
that
is.
part.
Yeah.
Okay, so
There it is.
maybe
So
I'm
the-
maybe I'm missing
The
where's the
budget,
what's
right, the
the
budget has,
controversy?
right, the budget has been approved. Exactly, Jerry.
Yeah.
The budget has been approved by Finance Committee with favorable action and the Board of Selectmen with favorable action. The Board of Selectmen did do favorable action on Article 20 the other evening, and the Finance Committee did not bring it up again and has not voted on the article.
So they will do. So what I
Okay.
think what we're hearing is that the finance committee won't make that decision until like just before town meeting that same night.
Correct. But the
Yeah.
way it is printed now, the Board of Selectmen will have to say, we did vote favorable action, and we
Okay.
will wait and hear what the Finance Committee
Has to say.
actually voted.
Yeah, but my question is what's the controversy?
That
Is
they are
it
just,
If I could say something
Sorry.
here, on
Yeah.
page 21 of the warrant, there is a summary of the Stevens estate, and it was written without any of our input. It provides a very narrow view of the estate, and I would say in some places even a negative view, and not entirely true. So I think if we had been asked to help write that section, it would have provided a more accurate report for town voters at town meeting. So we really have been. This is a short-sighted piece that has been put into the town warrant, and I think that in future we should be asking that we collaborate on the write-up.
and just to insert here, I did ask the Finance Committee if they would come to the trustees of Osgood Hill and if we could edit as well as participate, and I did not get an answer.
The first sentence of the second paragraph. The committee also notes that, as reported last year, the town has projected long-term maintenance at the estate will cost millions of dollars. That is a statement which is so totally out of whack
Yeah.
of the true situation at the Stevens estate. Everything is carefully budgeted.
Yeah.
The money comes out of the Stevens estate earnings, and I could go on. That is a very misleading statement.
Yeah, it's a broad stroke. Yeah.
It
Right.
is, exactly.
And as a historical building, it also has protocols that are followed through CPA, CPAC, et cetera. So,
But we're dealing with two different topics between the voting on Article 20 and also the town
letter.
warrant, though. You know what I mean? And it
Well,
seems
this
like
is
we're
information that's given, this is in the warrant.
influencing. It's a, yeah,
Yes,
that's,
it is.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Yes, no, I
Right.
get
That
it.
will
I get it.
influence voters.
Right.
It's a really, yeah, that is, by the way, though, that is I believe the perception of most people on the finance committee is that to properly take care of the estate is a millions of dollars investment. I
It's
don't think
not
it's
a
true,
school.
but that's
All
what
hearsay. Yeah.
It's not a school. In order to open, it all has to be done tomorrow. I
right.
sat
will-
at the long-term committee when someone asked if the town had to take out a bond in order to get it ready to be opened. And I was in disbelief. This
Yeah,
was someone
so-
from the finance committee.
So the
I-
concern, Jerry, is that you know somebody will take a shot at it like that when they
Yes.
present the
Like
article.
that's the intention, is for people to take a shot at it like that.
Okay, because again, this Jerry, so I'm looking at Article 20,
Okay,
and the only thing that I was kind of wondering about was the transfer to capital project line item and the admin indirect, which are both zeroed out in fiscal 21, which is exactly what we want, basically.
right.
So
Manager reset is what she called it, because
Yep.
she's doing her own
Yep.
viewing of maybe some irregularities. We don't know, but she's
Yeah,
taking her
so-
time to review.
Yep. So I think I guess that's why it didn't strike me as controversial when I saw Article 20. It says, okay, well, that looks like pretty much what we've been trying to do.
The last
I think-
finance committee, I was questioned how I wasn't paying for our services. So they're holding that against us.
Well, and that may be somebody's, perspective of things, but regardless, we've talked to the town manager about it, and this is the approach we'd like to take. And if people want to throw darts at it, then I guess people could throw darts at it. So I guess on the second point around capital, there have been analyses, they're fairly dated, but there have been analyses of what the entire Stevens estate needs from a capital improvement perspective. So I know we tend to focus on the house itself, which, is kind of one thing. But there's the outlying buildings, which are also part of the estate that need support, capital support, that aren't really taken care of right now. So while somebody's saying, yeah, it's going to take millions of dollars. Okay, well, what does that mean? But there is some reports that were done, a few years back by Steve Foster and others that kind of laid out what the capital improvements needed to be. I think that's to some degree a realistic view. Maybe it's jaded in certain ways or how people interpret it or would take a slam at Steve's estate, whatever. But I think there are capital improvements that are needed over the course of, many years, to bring it up to standards. So then I'm not talking necessarily the house itself. I'm talking about
The overall property.
the overall property is the way I've always viewed it. So
Go ahead, Joanna.
Can I just interrupt? And I don't disagree with you, Jerry, in the slightest, and I don't disagree with Steve Foster when he says that yes, we've done some case studies and we need lots of restoration programs in the millions or however it may be. However, I go back to my argument that I made $225,000 in pure profit the first year I was at the Stevens estate. I could have made that every single year had I been allowed to do it. That is $1 million in 5 years. We'd be at the point where we were at $1 million in pure profit to spend on the carriage house right now. It's not due to the lack of business or the lack of opportunity. It's the ability of the town to dismantle every success that we've been trying to accomplish year by year by year. And I hate to bring this up again, but I guess I rest my case. I'll leave it to you. Sorry. I'll
Can I make
step back.
Can I
I'll
make a
mute
point?
myself.
Yeah.
I want to make the point that my house needs like about $70,000 worth of repairs, but I can't do that all at once. So am I gonna do a $5,000 window this year and maybe do siding another year, which is, another
course.
20,000, and then maybe do something in another year that's another 20,000. You break it up, so you can't just look at it in the broad stroke and saying millions of dollars of repairs and not say I've got a 5-year plan, I've got a 10-year plan, and this is how we're gonna do it, and prioritize the tasks.
Yeah. So
Right.
I think we're all singing the
agree.
same song here. It's just that I think Ellen's concern, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but is just to be prepared that night if somebody tries to take this down that rat hole,
Right.
and that we can counter it. That's all.
Exactly. And I have been going through all those emails that I eventually read while I was recovering from my seizure. And I did find an email that the roof of the carriage house was approved and was being funded. And I can't trace back where that funding went. Those are some of the questions that are questions from other questions that were answered with our 1 through 23 from town manager. So there are different parts of our inquiries and reports that we still have ongoing for quite some time. But I do have an email. I'm curious. We were approved and we were to be funded, but I don't see funding in any of our accounts unless it's somewhere on that Munis system that we aren't able to see. Where is it? And we certainly didn't withdraw that money last fall. So this was a memo from like 2014. So
Ellen and everyone, I do need to cut out now.
thank you,
I have
Rosemary.
an appointment phone call with one of my clients, so I'm already running a little bit late. But you guys are doing a fantastic job. And the only last point is be ready for town meeting. You're only going to be able to speak for probably 2 minutes, but maybe each person could take a part of,
Outstanding.
making their case to the public.
We'll work on that.
But-
Thank you, Rosemary.
All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you
Good
again.
night.
Good night,
for the-
For
Rosemary.
joining.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining, Rosemary. Good night.
My pleasure. You're a great group. You're really on your game, and I love all the ideas. It makes me so excited and so proud of what is going to continue to happen at that Stevens estate. But we've just got to get that message out to the rest of them. So,
Thank you. And
Yeah.
meaning the public.
Thank you.
your
Thank you
last
for your
meeting,
help.
you spoke
All
very
right, thank you.
highly last meeting, and it was very much noticed and appreciated.
Oh,
Thank you.
again, my pleasure. Thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
So this started with, if in fact it is not a favorable action from the finance committee, we need to make a plan of each of us, few of us, to stand up, and you do state your name, your address, and that you're a trustee. And then you say a piece of whatever we can write up together. I think the town would be appreciative if the finance committee does come back non-favorable action. The town is going to vote based on the Board of Selectmen favorable action, and it has to be a majority vote, Article 20. And it will be a hand count, no voice count. So we will be allowed 2 minutes or so each.
So I think so just to kind of anticipate, this was Jerry,
Hi, Chair.
just to anticipate what may come. I think from the finance committee is really kind of, I guess there's a couple of alternatives, I suppose. One would be that the transfer to capital fund of, whatever it is in fiscal 21. Actually, there's no transfer because I think it's just basically unused funds from prior projects, as Joanna maybe was saying earlier. So the other one that would be up for debate would be the indirect expenses. Why aren't we charging basically Stevens Estate the cost of the indirect expenses from other town employees, which at the end of the day isn't a huge amount of money.
No, Melissa had
either
made
way.
that decision, Jerry. Melissa made that decision this spring.
Yep. No, I'm just trying to
It's for the
anticipate
reset.
what the finance, if they come back with unfavorable approval, was it? So that's one that they would say, okay, well, we'd like the Stevens estate to pick up their fair share of the indirect costs, their allocated costs, et cetera, et cetera. The other would be, I guess, don't approve Stevens estate budget at all. And then, there is no Stevens estate, and that's a very remote
And this is where I have a
option.
hard
So,
time because the budget article itself was approved, favorable action by
Yeah.
both boards.
I-
This is a line item within that budget that we have not got the finance committee making a clear statement.
okay, but our argument, I guess, as we prepared, to argue or
Present,
make the case, present, not argue, would be why the town picking up the indirect expenses would be fair and reasonable.
Like we still
And
haven't got a breakdown of those indirect expenses. So maybe we can say, yes, we do agree to pay indirect expenses, but we've been asking for a year for that breakdown.
and that's why Melissa put a reset and explained already to the finance committee at several of their meetings that she's putting a reset in to review after this town meeting.
Yep. So that's an important clarification,
Right.
because who knows who's ever talking from the finance committee may not bring up that point
Mhm.
that Joanna and Ellen just articulated, that the board, speaking for the board, we're not opposed to paying our fair share of, town expenses or the
Exactly.
expenses that provide value to Steve's estate. But what we haven't got are the things that Joanna just talked about. We don't have
Right.
visibility to some of the cost accounting. We don't have visibility to, are we getting the value, back to that, kind of accounting person.
Yeah.
Are we getting the value for the money that's being spent?
And we haven't
Those are
approved
the
the
things I think that could be a fair argument to say, okay, well, we support a 1-year reset, and
we
we'll
will
look at
revisit.
next year's budget, fiscal 22, in a new light, and we'll see where it goes from there. So again, fiscal
Exactly.
21 is just, it's a point in time.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean like forever and ever and ever. So,
Right. And
um,
Melissa will be up on whatever stage table that everybody will be at, and she will speak if need be. It's
yeah,
her
because I
reset.
don't think, in my view, I don't think we have to make the case of, geez, we got this great marketing effort. Well,
Right.
we got retained earnings. It's been profit, the
Right.
things that Joanna was talking about of, if we didn't have the whatever it was, the temporary shutdown of the estate,
Right.
Yeah.
I would not bring up any of
No,
that
I
dirty
think I want
laundry
to
at all, and
thank the
keep it
residents.
on
Yeah,
point
on
with,
point. Thank the residents for their confidence, and that is what we have provided. We are moving forward despite unprecedented times. We welcome you, et cetera, and we wish that you vote in a favorable majority, vote to move ahead and have a successful venue.
Yeah.
We have 6 more minutes.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
If the finance committee say no, does that mean we have to cancel all the Stevens Estates events?
No, the town still votes. We are the governmental.
Okay.
rule. The town still votes.
Okay. Good.
And the town manager will insert her managerial
Yeah.
say.
And I'm
during
sure,
that time.
yeah, she's going to. She's been good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think we'll be okay.
Wait a minute. What did you just say? Melissa is going to speak?
no, she will be at the
I have to be at
table.
the town. I have to be at the town meeting with all the department heads in case there is a question that she wants me to answer.
Yes.
I told her in our meeting today, I said, I'm going to prepare 5 mini bullet points. I'm not going to answer any questions, but if I get asked to answer questions, I'm going to make my statement and sit down again. And she's like, good. And I said, as long as I send it to you and she's good with that, that's fine.
That's good.
Because I remember what happened last year, and
Yes.
that was a complete disaster. I nearly showed up at that town meeting like ready for a firing squad.
I know. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Cam had warned us 6:42 the most. Any other business?
Dinner.
Dinner business.
We do
Well,
have
just
to set our next
Yeah.
upcoming meeting and right before the end of June. We probably need a 15-minute meeting. Hopefully it will be socially distanced, live, no more of this remote, but we do have to have an annual meeting. We can toast the year, but we do have to have an annual meeting according to the bylaws of the town.
Okay.
Okay, so everyone take a look at the last week of June 1st. June
24th is a
Huh?
Wednesday.
24th is a Wednesday. It could be 15
Or-
minutes and
yeah.
only. It's up to you. Is the 24th good?
Good for Dave.
Joanna, Jerry?
Yep.
Jean, Robin?
Yeah, but
I'm completely open on the 24th. It could be any time, all day long.
Okay, let's tell
could we
Brian.
do it at 5:30?
I will
instead?
put it down, and I now know that I am going to go to Brian first and Ray, book it, and then just do a annual meeting agenda.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's where
5:30.
we can formalize a government report that we will submit to the Board of Selectmen in July. That's basically all that will be on the agenda.
Okay.
And
And
any good
5:30
news.
is 5:30 good, Alan? It's good for
5:30 is
yeah.
fine.
Good. Okay.
And the July meeting, we can look at the month of July for our regular meeting. If you need us the 1st in case something happens with outdoor dining, Joanna?
Yeah.
So is Wednesday the 1st a good time to
Yeah, it will know by then. We'll have plenty of notice by then if we're
because
doing
we may
anything.
have to
So
take some vote action or something might have to be done.
okay. So
Okay.
that's July the 1st.
July the 1st, and we'll stick to 5:30.
Okay.
Is that good, everyone?
Yep.
Is that the annual meeting, the July meeting?
No, the end of June is
June.
the annual meeting,
Okay.
which is just to go over 3-4 points, adjourn.
All right.
Okay.
So that's the
think-
July
And-
4th long weekend. That's not going to be hard for anybody.
Wednesday the 1st.
Yeah.
It's before the weekend, so
Yeah.
hopefully.
That's fine.
I might be busy with 400 North Andover residents coming to eat
That's right.
restaurant food.
We'll be there. We'll be the tasters.
All right.
We'll be the
Motion to
tasters.
adjourn?
Vote to adjourn.
I second.
No discussion? Any discussion? Then
No.
let's take a roll. Jerry?
Aye.
Jean?
Hi.
Like Jeopardy here. Dave?
Aye.
And I for Ellen.
All right.
Awesome.
Cheers, everybody.
Adjourned. Thank
Bye.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good night.
you.
Good
Have a good
night.
night.
Bye.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Night.